Hello, everyone. This is Gwendolyn of Narcissism Recovery, and I'm talking with Petra of Noah Life Coaching. Hello, Petra. How are you?
Hi there, Gwendolyn. I'm doing good.
Nice.
Really good. How are you?
Really, really good to be talking with you today. I'm so glad we've made this happen, and I enjoy your videos and your background, and I just wanted to reach out to you and have a chat because I thought it would be very fruitful.
This is so great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
asking me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. And I just wanted to introduce you and maybe introduce you to folks and invite you to share a little bit of your background and your introduction and experience with narcissism and, all of that. What brought you to this and how would you like to share?
That's great. What brought me to this? Wow. What brought me to the topic of narcissism on YouTube? Oh, goodness. I think that started like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had met this wonderful lady, and we hit it off straight away, a friend. She became a friend, and I remember her saying to me, we are like soul sisters, like we've known each other our whole life, and we just totally connect, and we have the same interests, and it just clicked. It just felt right at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it's now 4.5 years ago. And it was just the as everyone knows, when you speak of narcissism, especially of a covert narcissist, which is what I found out later, is that's what she was, or
Mm-hmm.
that's what she is. There were just these very subtle, very damaging things that happened, little incidents, situations, things that were said. And, at some point it just gets to be too much. And I was wondering what was going on here. I thought I was going nuts. I thought
Mm-hmm.
there was something wrong with me. I
Right.
thought I had some serious issues in this friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what it was, walking on eggshells, feeling depressed,
Yeah.
feeling anxiety, wanting to break off the friendship, but not too sure how to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
And on this very beautiful Sunday morning, I got a phone call from the friend, and I had obviously done something, which I still don't know what it was,
Right.
but she just totally went off the handle and accused me of being a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what the heck is narcissist? I didn't know what it was. I thought it was someone who was really, with an inflated ego, who would just love looking at themselves in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't dislike myself, but I don't spend hours in front of the mirror. I thought, what a strange thing to say to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that is what set me off. I thought, let me just Google this term and see what comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by the third or fourth website, I thought, oh my goodness, it's that sinking feeling you get.
Mm-hmm.
Your stomach just churns and turns, and I felt physically ill.
Yeah.
Because I realized that every single trait that I'd read through applied to my friend.
Right.
So it was a total shock, totally.
Yeah.
And that was really the start of my journey, of my healing journey, of going no contact, of breaking her boundaries. She had also set up certain boundaries with me, which were just unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was setting my boundaries as well. And getting into this whole thing of narcissism, I wanted to find out more and more and more.
Yeah.
And because I was hurting so much, I really hurt when the friendship ended.
Sure.
I thought, let me tell my story.
Yeah.
And I'll just get on YouTube and do it just to get it off my chest. And then afterwards, I'll delete every video I've made. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it's turned into something quite different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the background.
What a healing thing, though. And I hear that so much. And what you're saying is, like, by sharing our stories, it's just the cathartic process of sharing that and getting that out, and sort of like acknowledging what had happened. Not only is it good for us to share that, but it can be helpful to others too, to like identify and just say, what is this, what happened, what, to kind of get some sort of understanding, and know what went on. And it can be comforting to ourselves to like, I know when it's funny that you say it was about 4 years ago, because that was when I kind of woke up. That's when I first was exposed to this too, in many ways. I had been in a therapeutic, I'd gone to therapy to try to figure out what had just hit me. And the therapist had recommended a book by Sandy Hotchkiss called Why Is It Always About You? And as I was turning the pages, I was thinking, oh my God, this is so, I got that feeling of like, my stomach dropping and being like, oh my God, is this really what it was describing? I kind of felt like, have you been following us around? How do you know?
Yes.
Like, what is this?
Exactly.
And it was when you talk about, I had been dealing with an overt narcissist, but I grew up with a covert narcissist. So when you talk about the little things that she would do, I remember thinking with my mom, it was sort of like death by 1,000 cuts is how it felt like. It didn't ever feel like the whack across the face like with the overt narcissist, but there was always subtle stuff where I was like, is there abuse going on? What is happening? I feel confused a lot of the time, and I feel like bad, and I feel like I don't really know what's happening, but it felt very gaseous, you know?
Absolutely. Oh yes. Can totally relate to that. Yeah.
So I guess we were thinking about talking about covert narcissism today, and it sounds like your experience has been with that friend, and I can speak of it in relation to my mom and having been raised by one. So I wonder what could be useful as far as exploring that, like maybe contrasting overt versus covert, or what has been some of your understanding of covert narcissism, or what would you like to share in terms of what you discovered about your friend, or just coverts in general?
Oh goodness, coverts in general, I think are, the most difficult to detect. I think in the aftermath of covert narcissistic abuse, you are sent into this. It is just, there's total disbalance or imbalance in your in the way you think, in what you do, because you're totally or continuously questioning yourself. Was it abuse? Was it not abuse?
Right.
Maybe I didn't see that right. Maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe.
Right.
It just drives you up the wall. Whereas with an overt narcissist, they are just upfront about it. They are, just mean-spirited. They're not nice to be around. I lived with one for 8 years.
Yeah.
And they just upfront. I think that is probably a good thing, because you are onto them straight away.
Yeah, I noticed the difference is when you're talking about that upfront versus under the surface. I kind of notice it as they're both aggressive, and one seems overtly aggressive, whereas the other one is passive aggressive. So they're both aggressive, and they're both doing this like attacking thing, but one feels like the big dog at the park that wants to go like pee on every corner and be like, I'm here, I want to do it. Whereas the covert reminds me of like the chihuahua, who's like aggressive and rah, 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 but then is like, whimpers, and goes into that victim thing. So,
I love that.
Right? Yeah. That seems to me like the two personalities. One is out there, I'm going to pee on everything, but then the other one is like, I'm going to pee and run away. I'm going to get in a little bite and then run and be like,
I love that analogy. Yeah.
So,
absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the truth. And especially when you call them out on peeing all over the place, like, why did you pee there? I didn't do that.
Right.
And they put it back on you and say,
right. That's
you must have peed there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's true. That's actually interesting you say that, because that was one of the things that would come up with my mom, is she would paint me as the aggressor, because that victim role, I find that the covert narcissist really identifies more with the victim role instead of that false self, savior, hero, better than everyone, golden facade that they love to buy into,
That's right.
the covert seems to be like, woe is me, I'm the victim, and therefore you must be the aggressor.
That's right. That's
So,
right. And that was said to you by your mother, you said?
oh yeah, she would always say that I'm
You-
slinging arrows, and I was like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I would try to understand what was going on, because I was feeling very hurt and trying to, like, I felt like I was dealing with another hurt person. I was trying to be like, let's mend and help each other. And like, I was like, communication
Yes.
solves everything. Let's understand one another. Let's even go to counseling together. Let's
Right.
unravel this so that you're heard, so that I'm heard. And she would just constantly see it as me, bringing up the truth or confronting something as attacking her, because it wasn't safe for her to admit vulnerability or hurt. By me doing that, I was confronting and attacking. So
Yeah.
it's hard to, it's like, to me, like that wounded dog. Like, you want to go to try to pet and soothe them, be like,
Yeah.
oh, you're hurting, I want to pet you, but instead they see you as an attacker, and so
That's
they
right.
run and bite. So I understand it in that way. It's like, you can't really approach that wounded dog.
No, no. That is just the thing, you've got to sort of be continuously trying to just bandage it up, just put a Band-Aid on there, and just very careful with how you touch that wound, because it's there. That's the same thing that you felt, which is what I also felt, is that you feel there's a wound somewhere, and you try and bring it up, and sometimes it's okay to talk about it with the covert narcissist. But if you just go a little too deep, if you just take a little piece of that Band-Aid off, there's hell to pay.
Yeah, true.
It's very interesting, that they, even those who love them, who are trying to help them, they will not take that help, because in their eyes there's nothing wrong, or they won't admit to it.
Correct. Because that's the part of their narcissism, is that they believe that they're right. They're the ones who they want to, like, school others. Or I know in my mom's case, it was always that I think they get some narcissistic supply out of their self-righteousness, or their, like, she was very Catholic. So for her, it was always her guiding me the way and like showing me how in error I was, or, and I would say, no, this is something I believe, this is something that I think, and she'd be like, no, you're just mistaken, you just don't let me show you the way of how it is.
Yes, that's right, that it's so it's like they've all read the same sort of book, where they know exactly what to say, what to do, what not to do, how to turn things around on you. This is so true, that what you said about the self-righteousness, that is, of course, we all have these tendencies at times to say, well, just look at a great job, I've done a great job, we can be proud of that. But there's just a different energy that goes with the way a covert narcissist says it.
And I want to just underline and understand what you're saying, because there is that thing of healthy narcissism, where we can be like proud of ourselves and be like, yay me, I did it, and cheerlead for ourselves. And I think codependents could have used a little bit more of that. But I think the difference is that for a narcissist, their winning comes at the expense of, like, I have to win, you have to lose. Whereas I believe, we can win, and it's sort of like, let's support each other, let's rise all ships. But for a narcissist, I seem to notice the tendency where I win, you lose, and that looks like unhealthy narcissism to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's also interesting what you said about let's heal this together. I think you just said that. Let's go into therapy together. Which is often what was said to me the other way around. My ex-friend, let's go into therapy together and heal our anger issues. And I'm like, I don't have that much anger, really. I do get angry sometimes, and I can, go off the deep end, but I don't think I have an issue with anger. at the end of the relationship, I seriously thought that I had anger issues. You know?
Interesting. It was really hers projected onto you, because that's another thing that,
Yes.
like with the narcissist, whatever they're saying about you, they're just telling you about themselves. They're just telling, like,
That's right.
so by her saying you have anger issues, she's probably wanting to externalize those anger issues onto you.
Which is what I understand now. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just couldn't make head or tail of it in the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is, this is the, I think, speaking of, covert narcissists, it's, this is a relationship that can go on for years on end, and it doesn't feel right, but you just continue because you don't know how to pinpoint certain things.
Right.
The abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with an overt, it's so very obvious.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I wouldn't say it's easier to leave,
Mm-mm.
easier to go no contact. No, absolutely not. But well, again, they're just very upfront, very, very truthful in their meanness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can pick them a mile away.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for both, because in both cases, they're like the spider, and we're wanting their approval. We're wanting their validation. We're wanting that whatever is flawed in us is looking for healing and the completion in us. But I like what Richard Grannon had said in one of his videos. He compared the overt narcissist to being like the Russian gulag that says, I hate you and you must be punished because you are bad. And whereas the covert narcissist is more like, I love you and I'm punishing you because it's for your own good. And I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it's sort of like, I love you and I'm conditioning you, you must come to the good side. You must come over and understand. And it's almost more damaging, because yourself and your self-concept is being destroyed, and they're causing all that much more of questioning within yourself versus you're the bad person. And I don't know, it's an interesting.
That's right. No, that is interesting. I do remember that video of
I'm going to try to link to it.
Yeah, because he was talking about that the covert narcissist is drinking the milkshake.
Right.
And saying, I'm drinking your milkshake, but I'm not drinking your milkshake. And you see, I'm drinking it, but I'm not drinking it. It was incredible the way he explained that, which is exactly what happens. Yeah.
Yes. To me, I see it as like the spider, the overt narcissist is the spider, and they're going to like drink from you. But whereas the covert narcissist is like saying, while they're drinking from you, they're like, no, you're the spider.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And it messes with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, absolutely. It's, any which way, whatever type of abuse is just devastating. And it is.
Absolutely.
It's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's so important to learn how to educate yourself on every single trait, just get up to date with every bit of information.
Yeah.
Because that is going to strengthen you and will warn you of future narcissists who try and get back into your life.
Yes.
So I think the healing aspect, besides educating of yourself, is so important.
100%.
Sorry,
No, 100%, because I think as we educate ourselves, we can identify behavior. And once we identify external behavior, like, okay, this is what this looks like, this is what's happening, here's what a red flag is, here's what gaslighting is looks like, here's what you can see it coming. And then we can also see our own behavior and see, okay, well, how is it that I'm contributing, or what is my participation in this? Because we're never really going to be able to change them, but we can, as we educate ourselves, identify our behavior and change our own behavior. Like I knew when I was trying to placate my mom or trying to calm a situation down, I would, instead of fawning and trying to continually heal and be subservient and be fawning, what I learned is I could be safe and I could just remove myself and and therefore not escalate the situation, because almost as I was like, how much more blood can I give you? Let me give you more blood.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and it wasn't serving either of us. If anything, it was propagating the dynamic. What I
Yes.
learned is like, no, I can go and just diffuse and be safe, and that will actually help her calm down and not propagate the abuse. So the education part is essential.
That is true. You know, that is a very interesting point, Gwendolyn, that you make there, because, you know, it is, I think there are different levels, of course, of how to deal with a narcissist, which is a question that I often get in my practice as well. It is very different when it is your parent
Yeah.
or a sibling
Mm-hmm.
than when it is a friend or a co-worker.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas I'm always preaching go no contact,
Mm-hmm.
of course that is not the same for a parent and a child,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, maybe even in some cases a love relationship.
Right,
Is
where you have
that
a child,
I,
where you can't, yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
because then I would never preach of you know, how to cope with the narcissist. But in your case, that is the choice that you made because it was your mother.
Mm-hmm.
How to deal with that kind of energy, which I applaud you for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is a whole different chapter, because you can learn how to deal with that. You can.
There's a guy who has a YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is Dad Surviving Divorce.
Yes.
A great video on how to do managed contact. His is in
Yeah.
the context of a love relationship where there was a child, but I also know I learned from going to CODA. It was very helpful to me. Is one of the rules that one of the suggestions they offered was, how can you interact with them where it's safe for you and respectful of them? So I always thought, okay, well, what's safe for me? How can I keep myself safe and be respectful of her? And that really helped me come to some rules that I came up with that worked in my situation, which was always have a third person present, don't be on her turf, and there was another one, something like don't spend the night, or there were three that actually ended up working. So I think that with that basis of what is safe for you and what is respectful of them, I found to be useful very much with dealing with family members.
Yes.
So that is what I could offer.
Because it's really, no, that's great that you bring that up as well, because that is really setting your boundary.
Right.
You know, it's also respecting yourself.
Right.
Especially when you have to deal with family members, with a parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't of course always want to go no contact because they are your parents.
Right.
You know, of course, judging from the level of abuse.
Yeah.
But yes, respecting yourself, setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great one. Not staying the night, maintaining or managing the contact when you have to contact them.
Yeah.
So yeah, true, absolutely.
Did you have different levels with your friend? Like when you were going into no contact, was there what was some of the process there of going no contact? Because I know that pulling apart can be very difficult as well.
Oh yes. Oh yes. It was very difficult because I'd done it once before, like a year previously.
Right.
And you know, just missed her so much, as we all do.
Yeah, we want that golden idealized friendship or idealized relationship that we got a taste of, for sure.
Absolutely. You know, that's the drug that we are still addicted to.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. And so I had went cold turkey, and then a couple of months down the line I thought, she's not that bad, you know, I'll just get back in touch.
Right.
Worst thing I could have done. Because it just started all over again. Yeah. I mean, it was like we went through the honeymoon phase for about a month, and then it was back to normal, back to square one again. So there's different stages you go through. I mean, it is a grieving process that you go through.
Yes. That's a big word. And I am reading Pete Walker's CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, and he talks about that even with the parent-child relationship, like with grieving the childhood that maybe you never had, or in the friendship case, you know, grieving the relationship that you thought you had or that you believed was there or that was there at one time, you know, in order to disengage and actually see it as it is, because that is the effect it seems to have. Is it's like a drug. And when we wean off of it, we kind of have to grieve that it's not real, it's not maintainable, it's not sustainable, it's not that high of the friendship relationship isn't permanent. It's not a real thing.
No.
Taking our time. We're good.
It's a whole illusion.
Yeah, it is.
That's true.
Well, you know, we are getting on a half an hour here. I know we had talked about how this short. I feel like we just got into it, and I feel like probably for an hour or two. But maybe at some point we can talk more about. I'm hoping to talk with a specialist on craving, because I think your analogy of addiction with the narcissistic relationship is very apt. Yeah. And I know for me, I was very addicted to my narcissist, and I think I developed that addictive quality through my mom and my addiction to her. But for today, maybe, do you have any last things you want to contribute before we wrap up, thinking that maybe we'll go and explore that another time?
I think, you know, if you don't mind, maybe we can do a second part in this.
I would love that. I would love that, because I think there's a lot to explore.
Yes. Because I just realized that, as you just said, we're just getting into it now. You know, we're just warming up now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think a last thing would be so many of us survivors don't want to go through the grieving process because it's painful. We don't want the pain. You know, that's what we do.
Right.
We prefer to go after pleasure instead of pain. And the pain is really pointing us in the right direction.
Yeah.
Say, you know, this is what you have to go through. You are cleansing yourself from the inside out, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So I think, is to allow yourself to go through the grieving stages. There's just no way getting around that.
Yes. And there's gems there to be discovered. So I think that's a good place to wrap up for today. I think that's some good food for thought, is go through the grief. Don't avoid it by pursuing pleasure elsewhere or trying to avoid it. Go into it, and then you go through it. So thank you, Petra, for your insights related to this. And it's just a pleasure to chat with you about it. And I will look forward to talking with you again, and maybe we'll continue on our exploration of this.
Yes, let's do that. You know, thank you so much, Gwendolyn. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, absolutely. All right, have a good rest of your day.
Gwendolyn. You too.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.